ethical dilemmas. We've all faced them, some more publicly or poorly than others. But no matter what you do or who you are going to face an ethical dilemma or two along the way. Odds are you may have actually crossed the ethical line, believe it or not. The topic made for a great column in this month's issue of Real Simple magazine. Author, contributor, and ethicist Jeffrey Seglin joins us this morning. Jeffrey also writes The Right Thing, a weekly ethics column for the New York Times News Service Syndicate, and he's also associate professor at my favorite school in the city of Boston, and the whole country for that matter, Emerson College, of course. Jeffrey, thanks for coming in. Before we get into the scenarios, what does it say about us when a dilemma comes up, what our thought process is about how we're going to handle it and what we eventually wind up doing?
Well, I think the most normal temptation is that it's not really a big deal because I can do something by gut instinct. I know what I should do. My gut will tell me what to do. And the problem is that that's really clear when it's a stark, extreme situation.
Sure.
But in most situations, there are subtle differences, and unless you think through what the implications of the actions are, you really, if you rely on your gut, could make a bad choice.
Well, we've got some fun scenarios here that we want to lay out, so let's get right into that. In your article, you answer 10 everyday ethical questions, and you can answer those yourself on our website, and we'll link you to Jeffrey's website as well if you want to have some fun with that. But let's start with the first one here. First, and I love this, if a charity sends me free address labels and I don't make a contribution, is it okay to use them?
Remarkably, this is a question with the weekly column I get a lot from people. They seem consumed by this, and I see absolutely if you're not asking for the labels and they're sent without request, there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing them. And better you should use them and bring attention to the charity because
Sure.
often it has a name on there than to throw them out.
I would expect
the
charity when you send them out is thinking along those lines,
I think it's absolutely true. I mean, if you want to give something, that's great, but there's absolutely no obligation to do that.
All right, I can breathe easier now. I think a lot of us can. Number two, is it unfair to move into better or open seats at a sporting event or concert? We see that happen a lot of time. Folks will move down after the second inning and no one's in those nice seats.
Yeah, and I used to do it as a kid all the time. Growing up outside of New York, we used to do it all the time. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing it as long as there's nothing in the ticket that prohibits you from doing it, and as long as you're prepared if the usher approaches you and asks to see your tickets, you're prepared to move back.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of the things that ends up happening when I say stuff like this is that the people who argue with me are the people who say, well, we paid a lot of money for these tickets, but they're also the ones that were the obnoxious fans who went down and were real boisterous when they did that. But there's nothing wrong with doing it as long as you don't lie about it. Mm-hmm. If you want to ask the usher if it's okay, that's great, but there's absolutely nothing wrong with doing it.
All right, here's one a lot of people wrestle with. Is it okay to fantasize about someone else when I'm with my partner?
This actually, I had a guy, this came about in a very strange way. I had a guy who was in his 60s write to me, and the way he worded his question to me was it okay to fantasize about fictional characters? And I kept thinking, what fictional characters could he possibly be?
Wonder Woman, maybe?
Exactly,
I don't know,
exactly. Yeah. I actually talked to couples therapists about this, and fantasizing is actually a normal part of any relationship, but what they say is that if you need to fantasize every time to be intimate with your partner, there's a problem, and you owe it to the partner to talk to them about it. If it's an occasional thing, it's not necessary to do that.
So
it's okay.
So you're all right with that, as long as you don't make it a habit.
Yes.
All right. Also, number 4, is it ever okay to sneak a peek at your child's email or text messages?
I think child safety is always more, there's lots of values that we have. A child's safety is always more important than a child's privacy, I think.
I agree.
But I also think that if you're going to do that, I think you have a responsibility to let the child know that in general, you're going to do that.
Well, when you get them online or you get them a phone or any device, you say, just so you know, I'm going to be looking at this thing.
Right, and I think as a parent you need to know that children are really smart technologically, so that they're going to have alternative sites and ways to block you from doing that. So I think you need to build trust with the child. When you start looking at their stuff without telling them, I think you betray that trust, and it takes an awful long time to rebuild it.
All right, we got 2 more. Got to get through them real quick here. Number 5, is it okay to use a shop or restaurant bathroom if I'm not making a purchase there and I really have to go? We see that all the time. Restroom is for guests of this hotel or people eat in this restaurant.
Yes, I'll tell you yes. I think it is. I think unless you're trespassing into a private home, that would be wrong. But I think that in graduate school, I used to know every bathroom in Boston and every hotel. The Ritz Hotel was the best bathroom you could go to, and no one ever gave me a hard time about doing it. If they asked me to leave, I would leave, but they never did. I think as long as you're not pretending to be someone you're not, and you abide by any rules that are there, it's perfectly fine to do that.
All right, lastly, and this is a great one because it actually happened to someone on our staff. If I make an illegal play during a sporting event and the referee doesn't see it, and I act like it never happened. Is that okay? Or should you point out, hey, we just won the game on an overtime goal that I didn't really hit in properly and may have been illegal, but it gave us a win anyway.
Right.
Should I go to the ref and say, hey, you know what, that doesn't count, wipe it off, we got to keep playing?
If you're asking me what the ethical thing to do is, the ethical thing is to be honest and point it out.
Right.
And we've all heard stories about coaches that have done that and actually lost the game as a result of doing that, and they become heralded for being ethical and having integrity and doing that. So the right thing to do is to point it out, even if it means you're going to lose, if you really want to be ethical about it.
I would say that rarely happens.
Exactly.
But there are some exceptions, as you pointed out. By the way, you can check out Jeffrey's ethics column blog at jeffreyseglin.com. And if you want to go to our website, myfoxboston.com, click on Morning News. We're going to link you right there. And you can answer the Everyday Ethics quiz. Worth checking out, and you'll have some fun doing it. And maybe learn a little something about yourself along the way. Jeffrey, appreciate it.
Thank
nice
you.
job. Thank you much.